Welcome to the Crabber's Shanty, my lady. We've got fresh crabs in the barrel and fresh crabs in our bellies. Believe me when I say you don't want crabs anywhere else. Really? Then you ought to share. Secrets don't make friends, and I consider myself very open-minded when it comes to crabs. They're my reason for living. I mean, I can't live without them, as in there is no other food source in this river besides crabs. As long as I can remember. Problem is, I don't just got the taste for mud crabs, but the memory of one too. But I was here yesterday and the day before. That much I know for sure. Oh, they have lots of uses. A mud crab's shell makes for a great shield. Hard as iron. Of course, you might think that's odd, seeing as mud crabs are so weak. But you'd be surprised how many of them don't know how to use a smelter. Oh, I never go back on anything. You don't catch mud crabs that way. You got to move from side to side like they do. Same goes for what you say. Don't ever hide from it, just change the subject. How do you like the weather, by the way? I think it's fantastic. What would you like me to sing? Haha, ask and you shall receive. The sun was shining on the rock and beat its craggy brow. It dried the mud until the rock was stuck in the ground.
Why not fly and spread your wings?
The bird said with a laugh. From down below the fish chimed in. Drop in for a bath. But little did they realize this tiny rock had claws, and through the mud it pinched them both and stuck them in its maw. That night the sky was empty, and the rivers all too calm. For in the end the little rock was a mud crab all along. What can I do for you? Well, they hide in the mud, which you know by the name, and ambush game and small birds that rest on their shell. Their pinchers can grow up to 2 feet long, and they're absolutely delicious. Of course! It'd be strange of me to live at the Crabber's Shanty otherwise. Some say they're ugly and weak and the worst of the gods' creations. I wholeheartedly disagree. I mean, what's not to like? I tried disliking a mud crab once on a bet with my friend here, and, well, that's 20 septims I'll never get back. Slaughterfish, mainly. Also crabbers like me. Other than that, not many. They're fearsome little buggers. Sometimes we put them in a bucket and let them fight it out. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. Like sweet rolls for the mind. Probably to scare off predators. Doesn't work all that well. Mostly just makes folks want to kill them. Huh, is that so? Then how do they catch food? Those must be some tough mud crabs if they don't need the element of surprise. Sure, we We can talk about other things, so long as it's about mud crabs. We just sit here and look at the sky for signs. Some hunters say you can see shapes in the clouds, or patterns in the stars. It's kind of like the old scryers who read the tea leaves. Sometimes they see the future. Most times they're just staring at a bunch of leaves. Messages from Kine telling us if the heavy rains are coming. If the river rises, the crabs get washed downstream. That's a good day to be a crabber. Of course, a lot of strange things come downriver. Sometimes even folks like you and me. Well, there was this one time we caught a mud crab with 3 eyes. But it turned out it was just some pebble that got lodged in its shell.
The Imperials.
You didn't see the resemblance? He looked just like Clark. You know, the one who died fighting the cloaks.
Clark? I was going to say he looked like High King Torrig.
How do you know what Torrig looks like? They'd let pigs into the Blue Palace before the likes of you.
I did see him once, I think. And I'm pretty sure that's what he looked like.
Oh, let's set this
Boy,
before me.
looking at Crabber. And if it is Clark, who's going to tell his wife? Ain't gonna be me.
That's right.
Welcome to
She
the
married
center of
that
the
new
world.
fella.
Or at least my
Oh
brother
boy,
Eric's
this is going to
world.
be awkward. Let's just forget we ever saw him.
Of aggression is just about done. We'll drive out the storm cloaks and restore what we own. With our blood and our
What makes this smell?
back our home.
Yes?
Down with Ulfric the killer.
Yes? What can I do for you? Huh. Funny you should mention that name. I have these dreams sometimes. There's this little boy, and he won't stop crying. I tell him I'm doing this for him. I tell him I'm fighting this war so that he can grow up in a safer world. But the tears won't stop. So I take this child in my arms and I tell him I'm sorry. That's when I hear another voice, a woman's, and she says the same. She says, "I'm sorry, Clark." And then I wake up. Weird, I know. I'm still trying to figure out what it has to do with mud crabs. And you used to be a frog named Klimek. But that life won't start until tomorrow. See? Two can play this game. But we agree on one thing. The life I have now, it's the one I was destined to live. And the same goes for yours.
Blessings of the eight divines upon you. How may I help?
Wait, which one is Kinneret?
What can I do for you?
I don't want to be a priest, Mama. I want to be a great warrior someday, like Ulfgar the Unending.
Stop talking nonsense, or you'll end up like your father.
But isn't Daddy a merchant?
Oh, right. I'm sorry, your mother just forgot herself. Kinnereth is the one in the center. Greetings. Have you come to the shrines to pray? I'm trying to teach my boy about the divines, but he's having a hard time matching the names to the altars. It's his father that should get the credit. He's brought so much structure into both our lives. Oh, have you met Gormleif? He's a good provider, but even better, he's a wonderful man who sets a fine example for my son. Please, not in front of the child.
May knowledge of your divinity
Mama,
carry us
who's
through our
Clark?
daily trials.
Nobody, sweetie. Just the man your mother knew before you were born. Try not to say such things in front of the boy, okay? You'll only confuse him. You're not the first person to tell me about the crabber who lives south of Dragonbridge. But even if it really was Clark, it doesn't matter. That was a long time ago. I've moved on,
Remind us of our
and
place.
Gormleif is a good father to my son. Maybe when he's grown, but right now, this is what's best for him. The child has a good father. He doesn't need a lousy one. Look, I know you're just trying to help, and the truth is, I've been tempted to go see him myself.
What do you need,
I
my
worry
friend?
about him, not as a wife, but as a mother. A life in the wild is hard for any man, even one as strong as Clark. But when I asked my friend how he was faring, she said he looked happy. And that was when I knew Mara had forgiven me.
As High
Perhaps it's
Priest
time I
of the
forgive
Eight
myself
Divines, I bid
and
you
let go
welcome.
of this ring.
There you are, my love. Everything's packed and ready.
We welcome you to worship the Eight Divines.
I'm
Freely,
sorry to make you
openly.
worry, husband. We just came to ask Kinnereth for a safe journey.
Let us walk in the steps of the Divines.
This morning.
Of course you have, my love. I should have known. You always think
Yes?
of everything.
It's the curse of being a merchant. Now come, let's go before the captain starts charging us by the hour.
Wander no more, for you are among friends here, and safe.
What are you doing that for?
What can I do for you? And I think you're mistaken. A crabber has no need for such trinkets. My advice is to toss it into the river and ask Kinnereth for more rain. A good heavy storm will really get these crabs out of the mud and into our stomachs. For now, I suggest you drink up and chow down. When you're a crabber, every day you're a king. Oh, the time has come, my crabber friends, to talk of other things, of gold and jewels and diamond dust, of jarls and high kings. They own the land and own the sea, but they can hardly heed it all. While they pay in gold, we fish for free and have ourselves a ball. And while the river's running red and war comes with each spring, a crabber's life is all I ask with fishermen and kings. And while the river's running red and war comes with each spring, huzzah, hooray, come run away, a crabber's life for me. can I do for you? What would you like me to sing? Haha, ask and you shall receive. Yes? Yes? What would you like me to sing? Haha, ask and you shall receive. What can I do for you? What would you like me to sing? Haha, ask and you shall receive. Oh, the time has come, my crab of friends, to talk of other things, of gold and jewels and time and dust, of jarls and high kings. They own the land and own the sea, but they can hardly eat it all. While they pay in gold, we fish for free and have ourselves a ball. And while the river's running red and war comes with each spring, a crabber's life is all I ask with fishermen and kings. And while the river's running red and war comes with each spring, huzzah, hooray, come run away, a crabber's life for me.